settlement between a group of plaintiffs and the Illinois State Board of Elections dealing with election data and voter rolls. And on Friday, it was announced a settlement was reached to allow for inspection of 15 election cycles worth of voter roll data and to be inspected electronically instead of in person at the State Board of Elections here in Springfield. Welcome back. It is Springfield's Morning News. I'm Greg Bishop with 92.7 WMAY, Springfield's News and Talk. We talked earlier about this and shared reaction from State Representative Brad Halbrook, who's on the House Ethics and Elections Committee. And he said that this is a fight towards transparency and says that hopefully it can allay some concerns that people have about Illinois' election integrity. But one of those who is behind this effort, Carol Davis, she joins us now. Carol, your reaction to this statement and the announcements of having the access to these voter rolls. Good morning.
Good morning. Well, thank you so much, Greg. And we are, of course, thrilled. It's been a long, hard road, which actually the effort started back in September of 2017. So we just thank Judicial Watch in D.C. so much. They're a phenomenal organization. And we've worked with several of their attorneys, and they've been so diligent and persistent. And basically, it all boils down to the state of Illinois has to comply with the federal law regarding voter rolls.
So when it comes to the statement Judicial Watch put out announcing the settlement, they also said that they are expecting to release data showing that there's nearly 800,000 inactive registrants on the rolls across the states. What's the indication you've got on that?
Well, it's, Judicial Watch has actually done this in several states. So they're kind of old hands in looking at this data. And the government-based Election Assistance Commission, they release data every year that's been sent to them from local election authorities. And what Judicial Watch does is it compares that data and analyzes it. And that's how they find out who should be legally removed from the rolls.
So what's ultimately your goal in all of this? Is it to remove those inactive registrants from the rolls?
Well, what we would like to do is just have the law be followed, which says that you can't have people who are ineligible to vote on the rolls. And so we are completely for transparent, open, and honest elections. And we feel if you've got bloated, inaccurate rolls, that is just one more factor that might contribute to election problems.
Carol Davis with us. She's one of the individuals behind this settlement where the Illinois Conservative Union and Judicial Watch announcing that the Illinois State Board of Elections is granting access after facing federal lawsuits to the voter roll data and allowing for electronic access to this. Talk about that, because the State Board of Elections had said, hey, come on down during business hours at the Springfield office. You can pour through the insurmountable lines of data in a short amount of time. Why was that not enough?
Well, when we actually tried to do that, it was pretty silly. It was, in fact, quite funny because two of our team, the three of us on the suit, myself, Jan Shaw, and Loretta Savi, we've hung together all this time. And so Jan and Loretta actually made the trip down. They were invited to view the voter rolls on a single computer monitor, one voter at a time. And of course, we have 8 million people on our voter rolls here in Illinois. There was no way to do any search. It was pretty ludicrous. So that is not the type of access that the federal National Voter Registration Act had intended for citizens.
So obviously getting access to that electronically allows you guys to search the data sets and to go through this in a manner that will allow for you guys to at least find what you're looking for there. I want to get your reaction to the Chicago Tribune headline here. Conservative group headed by 2020 presidential election denier wins access to Illinois voter data in court settlement. Are you an election denier? And what do you think of that being injected into this headline?
Well, of course, those of us who are for open, fair, and honest elections, that's been a label that's been slapped on us for several years now. And, I joke. I don't deny there's elections. What we want, of course, is just open, transparent, honest, and fair elections. And if anyone actually did their due diligence, as we have, I've been involved in election integrity for over a decade. And I have been a frontline election judge. I've been a poll watcher. I've been a deputy registrar. And I can tell you firsthand from the front lines in the trenches, there are anomalies or outright fraud in every election. Somebody's going to cheat. And so to call us deniers or conspiracy theorists, that's just ignorant coming from people who have not spent time on the front lines of elections.
And we're talking with Carol Davis, one of the plaintiffs in the case that freed up the electronic access to voter rolls for 15 election cycles. How far back does that go? I'm trying to calculate. We have an election basically like every 2 years, and then you got the municipal and consolidated elections. How far back is this going to go for you guys?
Yeah, in fact, it's funny. I haven't taken the time. Who knows? Like back to Warren Harding, I guess. I'm not sure. But yeah, that's great because, history can tell us a lot about voting trends, about, registration, numbers of people being added to the rolls at particular points in time. So all of that information can be graphed and can be very valuable.
Carol, something else that Judicial Watch has, and it was filed before the 2022 election, deals with Illinois and all of the mail-in balloting that happens, the early voting, and even the 2 weeks after the election is over of Illinois still counting ballots that are mailed in. That case is still pending here. What are your thoughts on the current lay of the land when it comes to Illinois election policies?
Well, I am thrilled that Judicial Watch jumped on that lawsuit. And, that's with, of course, U.S. Congressman Mike Bost and a couple of other plaintiffs. And I am hoping for the best for that because the Constitution of the United States actually says election day. It doesn't say election month. It doesn't say election season. It's ludicrous, the amount of time that has been pumped into our election process. And it just contributes to the uneasy sense that the public has that there's just way too much time for problems to pop up. So we need to get back to a more constrained, controlled, and lawful process to run our elections.
Carol, I hope that we can stay connected and talk more about what you guys are able to find. And how long do you think it's going to take to go through 15 election cycles with an average of 8 million voters that are registered? How long are you guys going to be pouring through all this data?
Well, we've got a wonderful network under our Illinois Election Integrity Program, and people can go to ieip.org to find out more. And we have a working group, voter roll maintenance. We've got lots of helpers, and we can always use more. So if you want to help, go to ieip.org, and we'll guide you through the process. And we're very excited about what the future is going to bring. It just shows you, Greg, never give up when you're fighting for what is right and lawful. Just want to tell people, too, this data will be very carefully protected. And we just don't want anyone to be uneasy about how secure their data will be. Thank you so much.
Yep. Carol Davis, greatly appreciate it. We'll talk again in the near future. All right.
Great. Thanks, Greg.
It is Springfield's Morning News on 92.7 WMAY, Springfield's News and Talk. Follow me anywhere, Bishop on Air. Just search that on Facebook, Twitter, YouTube. I guess I should start saying X now when it comes to Twitter. Who knows what's going on with Twitter or X. And apparently they're no longer going to be called tweets. They're going to be called X's or something. I don't know. All right. But either way, you could search for me, Bishop on Air, and we can connect that way.